CIR makes, I think, some strong arguments about why they're not satisfactory as a total test for all students. I mean, it's one thing to measure whether or not you're ready for college. It's something else if you're using it as your standard assessment for all students. And so, so then the question is, are they just going to buy ACT or SAT or ACT, and will those two companies then be willing to adapt to what's needed?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
Well, I think this covers my questions pretty well. So, just if I anything else particular. I guess just maybe what you said a little about your own views with respect to teacher quality and teacher effectiveness. Have your views changed over time on this issue as you've kind of seen the, sort of the actual adoption and implementation of these evaluations? So how have they changed?
Well, they changed in that I began to realize that whatever you're doing on teacher evaluation, it needed to be, there needed to be a staging and as opposed to an immediate imposition. And the second thing is that teacher evaluation is initially put forward back in 10 years ago, was too rigid. And that I do believe, but I think it was too rigid just on its face. But I also believe that research has steadily emerged and practice is being developed that gives us new options to be looking at in a meaningful way. So
Okay. So you would say about 10 years ago, you were more inclined to think, well, these things are worth trying, and then now you've sort of have more questions that it wasn't the best course. Okay.
I mean, I don't step back from how do we improve the teaching workforce, but I do believe that the measures that were being used for teaching evaluation, particularly when combined with the introduction of the Common Core, that they not only were inadequate, but they also created a reaction that made it harder to accomplish any of the desired objectives. In standards, raising standards, teaching evaluation, and some of the other goals. And over time, Mario Hahn has been able to feed into me some solid concepts and research.
Not how it happened.
But yes, it's true that the
eating. I did no eating.
But the two combined do seem to have created quite a.
Either one.
The environment around standardized testing has become so politicized.
Standardized testing stood by itself was controversial. Now you toss in teacher evaluation. So if you think about it, you've got higher standards, you've got standardized testing. People can deliberate over the value of the test and time to teach, and then you've got teacher evaluation. Now, any one of those is a big lift. Now to try to put them all together, not well done. And that's why one area that I've steadily and consistently opposed any evaluation in is politician evaluation.
Well, I am the daughter of a local politician. Yes.
What?
She's a county commissioner since 1988.
That is a testimony, because I think that's one of the toughest positions.
Must be excellent.
Yes.
In North Carolina. So Jim Hunt, she does Jim Hunt actually.
What county?
Durham.
I spent 7 years in Durham.
Really?
You grew up in Durham then?
I did. When were you there?
Long before you were.
Oh, okay.
No, I went to Duke and then worked at Terry Sanford for several years.
Oh, my goodness.
This was in the 70s. So, and I get back, after West Virginia, North Carolina's kind of got the warm spot for me.
Yeah.
And also, I then picked back up with Governor Hunt, starting back when I first started with the Alliance. And so I get to Durham and Raleigh a good deal.
Oh,
Chapel
nice. Hill. Yeah, that's where I grew up. And
you never had the experience. Your mom may have. You never had the experience of turning on television set at 6 o'clock. We used to all gather together in our dorm to watch young TV broadcaster named Jesse Helms, who would talk about, quote, that red nest over in Chapel Hill.
Yes.
And you were proud of that.
Yeah, I was. And then later, even prouder when he got to be a U.S. Senator.
Oh, my.
And you showed up.
He beat
One of those.
this was 1972, he beat a pretty moderate, decent congressman from Durham named Nick Galifianakis. And yes,
These are names I know, yeah.
and had a catchy slogan appealing to the best of people is, you don't want a Greek in the Senate.
Things haven't changed.
No, and actually it's
Haven't
kind
made a
of
lot of progress, have we?
Because North Carolina, the North Carolina I knew and came to respect through watching Governor Sanford, and then he was president of Duke, and then he was in the Senate too. But the tradition, and it wasn't just Sanford, it was a fellow named Frank Porter Graham, it was William Friday, it was, you look at the governors before and after Sanford, Bob Scott, Jim Holzhausler, who was a Republican, or was, he died recently, but Hunt worked closely with him.
Yeah.
Then Hunt, there's an amazing tradition of education. And North Carolina was always where you looked to for the education leadership, both in higher ed and K-12.
Yeah.
And boy, these folks are dismantling that as rapidly as they can.
It is so distressing. I know. It really, that sort of that progressive tradition that was somewhat bipartisan in some ways, or certainly could get carried forward by I don't even know what to say, but I was a beneficiary. I attended the governor's school, which was a Terry Sanford creation.
And so the governor's school in North Carolina, when I was governor, I took that concept and we created a school of the arts, much like Sanford.
Okay, yeah, and they got rid of the North Carolina Teaching Fellows program.
They really have gutted a lot of the stellar programs.
People have to start getting active in state elections.
I don't think they understand, because once again, Speak as the old guy. My first job, I graduated in 70 from Duke. My first job, now this was not a high-paying job, but was in I needed temporary labor, and so I went to work in something that was just developing called the Research Triangle Park, which of course today is a major economic engine, and where much of the research and pharmaceuticals and a whole bunch of areas is undertaken. That's replaced every job that the textile, timber, and what's the other major industry that was gone? Tobacco.
Yeah, they used to make cigarettes in downtown Durham when I was a kid.
And today every one of those is either a loft or some sort of startup.
Yes.
So, but there's only one reason. You didn't go to North Carolina because of the climate. It's hot. Nor did you go in those days for the politics of Jesse Helms. You went because of the education.
Yeah.
And that network of Duke, Chapel Hill, and State, plus the quality K-12 program.
Yeah.
And you take that away. I don't think folks understand. That's what drives North Carolina today.
Not basketball?
Well, Coach K helps. Well, actually, I got Coach K. Actually, he didn't win this time, did he? It was last year he won, but
Usually they do.